Hello and welcome to this brand new section in which we will be building a calorie counter application. So this is going to be sort of a food tracking application wherein you can go ahead and you can add food items to your list and it will actually count the macronutrients of the diet which you had. So let's say, for example, if you had eggs for breakfast, so you can select a particular item from a given list which is going to be a food item, and once you have selected that item and when you add it to your diet, it will actually go ahead and update all the macronutrients like the carbohydrates, proteins, fats, and it will also count the calories as well. So this is what we will be building for this particular section. So what you need to do here is that you first need to go ahead and set up a basic Django project. So I'm not repeating these steps because we have done it 1,000 times. That is, we have created a virtual environment, then we go ahead create a site which is called as my site, which is going to be our Django project. And in that Django project, we will also create an app which is called as my site. So this is the basic setup which you need to do. So just go ahead, create a folder called as calorie counter or calorie count, create a virtual environment, inside of it install Django, create a new project called as my site, cd into that project, and then create a new app which is called as my app. Okay, so once you follow these steps, the next step is to go ahead, open up your folder in any code editor. So we will be using Visual Studio Code, and in here, as you always do with any app, whenever you create a new app in Django, you do need to add that app over here inside the installed apps. So the app which we have here is my app, so simply add that up over here. Okay, so now once we have added the my app, now let's actually go ahead and jump into building the project. So the very first thing which we need to do here is that as we actually want to build a functionality that the user can select food items from a given list. So first of all, we actually need to have a database of food items, and those food items should also have values for their macronutrients as well. So let's go ahead and first of all design a model which will actually hold those food items. So our first job is to go ahead and create a model, and this model is going to be used to add food items. So let's name this model as food. So I will say class food. This is going to be models.model. And now let's think about the properties which this food item would have. So obviously you will have a name. So I'll say name equals models.carfield. The max length is going to be, let's say, 100. So apart from the name, we also want to add the macronutrients of a particular food item. So the macronutrients are carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. So let's add them up over here. So I will say carbs equals, and as the carbohydrates or the macronutrients which we are going to be measuring are going to be in terms of grams, so they can be 10.2 grams, 5.8 grams, so on and so forth. So for this, the field which we will be using is going to be the float field. So I will say models.float field, and let's do the same thing with protein and fats as well. So I will say protein equals models.float field as well, and finally we will add fats as well. So fats are going to be models.float field. Okay, so once we have carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, let's also go ahead and add calories as well. So I'll say calories equals models dot, that's going to be, let's say, integer field. And that's because usually you don't measure calories in terms of a decimal value. Okay, so once you have this model set up, let's actually go ahead and make migrations. So I will simply go to the terminal and say python 3 manage.py, make migrations, and then python 3 manage.py migrate. Okay, so once the migrations are created, now let's actually go ahead and create a super user and kind of add a couple of items to this particular food model. So in order to create a super user, I will say python 3 manage.py create super user. Let's leave the name to default. Let's add some dummy email address. Super user is going to be the password. Okay, so now once the super user is created, I can now run our application. So I would say python 3 manage.py run server, and now let's open up the browser window, and in here let me just go to this address. So as you can see, our application is up and running. Now let's go to /admin. Let's type in the username and the password. Okay, so now once we are in here, as you can see, you won't see any model here, and that's because you actually need to register your model in admin.py file. So let's go ahead and import the model first. So I will say import food, because that's the name of our model. And now let's do admin.site.register and just register the food model. Okay, so once we have registered this, we can go back over here, and when I hit refresh, okay, I guess the server is not running. It says no model name food. Okay, I actually forgot to say from .models import food. That should fix the error. And now if I hit refresh, as you can see, we actually have our food model here. So now let's try to add some food items to this particular model, just as an example. So let's go ahead and add an item. Let's say we want to add eggs. So I'll say egg. And now let's actually take some accurate values for these macros here. So let's check eggs macros. So I would say protein in egg, and that should actually give me the macro. Okay, so for 100 grams of eggs, these are the macros. So the protein content of 100 grams of eggs is 13 grams. And if I actually switch to let's say egg raw, and let's say if I say 1 medium, that will actually give me macro of 1 egg. So let's add this item name here, which is egg. Let me type in raw, and I can see something like medium 44 grams. Let's say this is just the name of the food item. So this will actually give us a description about the food item which we have here. And now the protein content of that is 6 grams. Let's also check the carbohydrate content as well. So if you actually take a look over here, the carbohydrate content of that is 0.3. So I can say 0.3 grams here. And the fat content is nothing but 4.2 grams. So I would say 4.2. And now as far as the calories are concerned, we have 63 calories in that amount of egg. So I will say 63 up over here, and now I'll save that. So currently it will say food object 1, and it won't display the name of the item. So in order to display the name of the item, you just need to go to models and define the str method up over here. So you simply need to type in def _str, simply pass in self over here, and then make this thing return self.name. So that will actually make sure to display the name up over here. So when I hit refresh, as you can see, now you have the name of that item. Now I'm actually going to go ahead and add a couple more food items in here, so as to make our application look realistic. So you can actually go ahead and add a couple of items of your choice. You can actually search for the macronutrients in Google and add them up over here. So I won't be going through the steps of adding those up over here. So that's it for this lecture. And in the upcoming lecture, what we will do is that once we have added a couple items in here, we will actually go ahead and create a view to allow the user to select one of these items from our list. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.